it's really important to point out because there's whole sections of continents that are just burned to a crisp, and we call them deserts and badlands and whatnot. But they're highly suspect as not having been produced by the sun or whatever excuse of the day they want to give us for it.
Right?
But what I thought I'd do for the presentation tonight is cover some ground that we have commonalities in what we're doing.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins. Come!
The amazing Michelle Gibson with us today. If you don't know Michelle's work, guys, go and subscribe, give her a like, share it around, all that kind of stuff.
So one of the things that I started to do was research places that viewers suggested because I was getting a lot of comments. So in this example, a viewer left a comment regarding the 7 pillars in Miami County in Peru, Indiana, and that's just north of Indianapolis. And they're sacred by the Miami Nation, or to the Miami Nation of Indiana. And they own land across the river from this location and have their ceremonies. And then another viewer said that Cambell talked about Nawarla Gabarnmung in one of his videos. You want to talk a little bit about that, Cambell?
Yeah, that's an interesting formation up in the Northern Territory. It's classed as a cave, basically. They're just saying it's a natural formation that's been eroded away for thousands of years, but it looks like it's got pillars in it. And it also, one thing I noticed about it is that the floor's dirt, right? It looks like it's been filled in. And then in the background behind, when you look into the hills behind this structure, there's all these really interesting, doorways and things in the hills, things that look like old houses. So, yeah, I was just questioning, right. Is that natural, or is that just man-made and very old and eroded?
It looks a lot like the Longu caves of China, which they do claim are man-made, and like Cappadocia in Turkey and Anatolia in Turkey, like it's very similar.
It's interesting. We see that a lot with castles. You'll see these castles, like Edinburgh Castle, and it's a castle, right? And then in some countries, in the Middle East and around there, something will be marked a castle, and it's literally just a hill. This melted, there's no castle there that we know of, but with our eyes, we're like, oh, okay, that was a castle. So it's interesting how they do this naming thing, that it's all obfuscation.
So in the course of this, I'm going to show another example in Turkey, but just wanted to point out that it's very similar. You've got, what looks like masonry up at the top, and then you've got actually very similar looking pillars. Some are skinny and some are thicker in both places.
Yeah, that's a very good point for the geological claim of erosion. It doesn't really work too well.
So that's the stock explanation for everything that we see, is that it's natural and geological forces created it millions of years ago, or the ice age, advancing and retreating of glaciers caused it. But I've done a little bit of research into the origins of geology, and that's kind of like everything else. That's what they want us to believe. They don't want us to see infrastructure in front of us, or man-made infrastructure, because that just blows the narrative out of the water. And I know that there's some people that think these are like giants and things like that. And I know there's mud fossils. I understand that, but I don't see everything as a mud fossil. I think some things are, and I think there's a lot of terraformed infrastructure like this that are so old that we are conditioned to think that it's the result of natural forces, and in fact it was created.
Yeah, they love their time, don't they? They love to push back time and give themselves, these millions of years, and it's like, well, anything can happen in a million years. Come on. And as far as, the melted, the titans, the trees, I think it's all of it. I think we're looking at multiple resets, and
Yeah.
some things are older than others. I don't think you can say everything is definitely this. I think when you do that, you've just jumped into a box.
So the way I kind of see it is like in the sense of like the Hopi legends and like the 5 different ages of the sun, and that it was like the largest fractal of a fractal of a fractal, where we're essentially getting smaller each time.
And I kind of hold on to the idea from all of my research that there was a very long, continuous, advanced civilization from ancient times to relatively modern. That lasted a very, very long time. And then there was a massive reset. I also understand the idea of different worlds: first world, second world, third world, fourth world, fifth world. And one of the things that I believe is that Earth's history goes back way farther than what we're told. And the other point is that we've been misinformed and confused and gaslighted and, taught incorrect information so we wouldn't know the truth for so long that, it's only now, like with the internet and other resources, that we can start putting our different pieces of the puzzle together. Because I know I wouldn't be able to do, 75% of my research without the internet. There's quite a bit that I did by going to places. I have pictures from that, but with all the different places that I've looked at without the internet, I would not have been able to do that. So it brings things together, and then we can start sorting through everything. But there's more to this that I want to share. So I talked about the different size pillars. Again, it looks like masonry. This is what it looks like inside Noir-Barnung.
Territory, yeah.
Another interesting connection, because I started coming across people who identified as lost tribes of Israel, and I have found information on the internet that the Australian Aborigines identified as the tribe of Reuben.
No.
Really?
That's
fascinating.
wow.
Okay. And then up here, it's hard to read, but it says evidence of miseducation. They just kicked the original people of the earth back to the Stone Age and took credit for everything.
Yeah.
But what else is interesting is that the Seminole Indians in Florida also identify as the tribe of Reuben, and they're considered to be originally from Florida. Okay, so you've got the same colors here, right?
Yeah.
As the Aboriginal flag.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Wow, look at that.
The Seminoles, do you see them as Moors?
Yeah, Washita Moors. Yeah. I mean, they did a number on everything, so we wouldn't have a clue as to
I'm
what.
just amazed at how do they get so much done? But I guess that's for future conversations.
Yes, it's everything was fully developed and advanced, and they did something, and then they came in and they took everything over, and they had these wars and killed a lot of people and said we did this, and that's what happened. But the original builders were the original peoples. So the Seminole Wars took place between 1816 and 1858. And then the Seminoles were also relocated out west, like the Cherokee, that the Trail of Tears, the best known, but there were several Trails of Tears. The Creek Indians, the Chickasaw, the Seminole, and the Choctaw. So they were forcibly removed to Oklahoma Territory, and kicked off their lands, ostensibly by treaty, but you know how that goes.
Yeah, scammed.
And some Seminoles remained in different places. So their lands they have several reservation lands. One is down here in the Everglades. So there's 6 Seminole reservations today. One outside of Tampa, one here in Immokalee, Hollywood, Big Cypress, Fort Pierce, and Brighton. This is all Everglades. So Miami, Florida is here, and this is Highway 41. It starts here. And what's interesting about Highway 41 is that it goes all the way up to Copper Harbor at the tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula in Michigan. So all the way up here, and then you have Miami's all along the way.
What
You
are
have
the
you have Miami's in Indiana and in other places as well. They're in Oklahoma. It's more than just Miami, Florida,
Wow.
which is the best known. So it's just really interesting, the connections that you can think about with this information, because from my perspective, the original tribes of Israel were laid out according to sacred geometry all over the earth. And so there's like 12 tribes, right? Or however many, however that works. And there's different representatives of each tribe in different places. And it's just something to think about. This is what I found in my research, and I find it very interesting.
So,
And
with
again,
the
just to mention, the people that hold the sacred land of the 7 pillars in Peru, again, are the Miami Nation.
oh, so wow, what does Miami mean?
like how many coincidences do you need in a row? And that you've also done like the study and found the Salem, and how there's 7 Salems in a row as well. And like, why are there just
And that was
please
actually a suggestion from somebody that's
Much,
talked
yeah.
about the 7 Salems, and then I started looking into it, and it was really interesting. Found a lot of information doing that. That it's just a whole nother, takes everything to a whole nother level, because everything was perfectly aligned, not only on earth, but in heaven. So there are these eclipse paths that these cities are in perfect alignment.
right?
And the 7 Salem solar eclipse was in 2017. And then there's another eclipse coming from the other direction in 2024 that goes through 9 Salems. And I got that information from somebody else. And they both cross at Carbondale, Illinois. Both paths
Okay.
cross. It's like they're,
So what date is this that they cross? Because I
think-
guarantee that is a huge, like, occultic, esoteric energy point event.
sure,
Something
it
going
is.
on
But keep in mind that these are ancient people that have built this.
there. Yeah,
and
it's off the
energies.
ancient grid of 100%. And like for those that haven't seen Michelle's original 7 Salems video, like it blows your mind, like the alignments and all of that. And like I was just thinking that as you're saying it, that's like no, and now there's another one of another 9 of them still to come that you just found out about, and that they're going to intersect.
And they intersect at Giant City State Park, which is south of Carbondale, Illinois, in Wakanda. Makanda.
I was like,
Makanda, Illinois.
Wakanda?
But it sounds like Wakanda. It's Makanda, Illinois.
Giant City.
Right? Like if ever there was a time where a giant might reach out of the ground.
So
Wow.
I wanted to share that set of data that I found. Again, something to think about. It's not what we're taught, and you have to learn to read between the lines doing this.
Are there any connections between the Seminoles and India?
Well, if what I believe is true, then there's tribes of Israel in India.
Because are you aware of the language connection between Australian natives and I think it's northern, what's it called? Tamil? Is it Tamil?
Yeah.
I had not heard of that before, but that nothing surprises me at this point.
Because also, if you look at pictures, if you just look at the pictures of the people from northern Australia and northern India, or southern India, sorry, they're exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things there's so much information really when you
It's,
start looking
yeah.
at everything differently. It
Mm.
not enough time in the day.
It's
Right.
like
And
they
even
had a
with
jigsaw and they just messed it up and put it in the box and shook it around and kind of spread it back out on the table.
pretty
It's
much,
like,
and even when I'm doing my research, there's so much more that I could talk about, but it's like, what do I do with this? Where am I going to go with this? I got to stop and move on. I've made my point, but it's always just like, the tip of the iceberg in terms what is available to find at any location.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So
And
I'm going to
wherever you
show.
look, you'll find it.
Okay, let me show you another one here that's like that, and this is in Turkey, in Karain, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Karain, and it was said to have been a settlement 500,000 years ago. They've been excavating there since 1946. It's right in here on this map. Okay, so what's interesting is that it looks like, guess what?
Oh gosh.
And they're excavating this one.
And this particular one just happened to show up on my feed. I didn't know about it. I don't think anybody somebody
Look,
might
it
have, but I think it just
could
showed
have
up on
been
my
AI
feed.
for you, right? The AI
Yeah.
So
synchronicity.
AI is helpful that way.
Exactly. It can have some good, but that they're excavating this one, and so the story's going, I believe that it's above water. So how did a river make this happen, or erosion make this one happen that seems to be identical to all the others?
And this one, I think there is some water. So it's believed to go back 44,000 years as far as people living there. That's Nawar like a barn. So there's another picture of the site in Australia,
Yeah.
and then again the one in Indiana, and then this is in Turkey. So there is some water there in the cave complex, and there's
Okay.
springs there. And then you have travertine there, which is a type of limestone, and you have these beautiful terraces in
Oh
Pamukkale
yeah,
that are fairly well known.
yeah.
But again, they tell us that this is all natural, but look at how perfect that is.
And so many that look identical to this around the world. It's like, those are the ultimate, what are they called? Something pools, infinity pools. Like those are the perfectly engineered infinity pools, and they look identical at a good 50 different spots around the world. They're just
So what do you think that is, Michelle? Like
Well,
a
personally,
building that's filled up, or
so I see all of that as man-made infrastructure.
just something to do with mining? Maybe it looks like some kind of vats or something, doesn't it? Like, because it looks like they are made to hold. They're not like domes that have collapsed or anything, I don't think.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of things that there's more terraforming of the earth on from the original people and ancient builders, that they knew how to do things that we can't even imagine.
Yeah,
and they used alchemy. They they knew how to work with the elements. They had technologies we can't even conceive of, and
Yeah.
they were able to do this.
We all want to live a healthier, more natural life. And after the last few years, many of us are a little wary of doctors and their wares. So, in my opinion, it's a good idea to learn how to grow your own. That's right, grow your own medicinal plants. But how do you do that? Well, you do it with the complete natural pharmacy for your backyard. Now, this garden medicinal kit actually comes with the seeds you'll need. It comes with the seeds of 10 easy to grow plants that you can grow in your garden. And then it also shows you how to turn these plants into salves, tinctures, teas, etc., that you can use to heal yourself and your family naturally. There's yarrow, the backyard wound healer. Marshmallow, which is great for any digestive issues you might be having. Evening primrose, a natural remedy for skin and nerves. and echinacea, which is the most powerful immunity plant, and everyone should be growing it, and much more. So click the link below in the description and find out some more information of how you can start to grow your own medicinal herbs and start to take charge of your own and your family's health. Click the link below and start to heal yourself naturally.